Starting a fast can feel challenging, especially in those first 24 hours when your body is adjusting and you may still have cravings. In this episode, we'll break down how to prepare for a fast. How do we get into the fast? Questions I get from people include, why is it so difficult during those first 24 hours? Oh, I just can't make it through those first 16 hours. And we're going to spend some time in this episode talking about that. How do we do that successfully? How do we get there? When you hear people talk about these extended fasts, or people are talking about intermittent fasting, how do they actually do that? What do you need to do to set yourself up for success to be able to do that and to help you become metabolically better? Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we are breaking free. We are not allowing any obstacles to hinder us. We are breaking free, and we're presenting our best selves, our best health, and our best plans for our life. We're not allowing anything from outside of us or anything that's in us to prevent us from being where we need to be metabolically healthy. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes. Included in that list are all of those people who want to be metabolically better. If you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, if you have coronary artery disease, if you are at risk for obesity and polycystic ovarian syndrome and all of those things, they fall under this umbrella, and we are talking to you. If you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments, because I'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and let you know that we are excited that you're here. If you do have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat, in the comments. Put a Q in front of it, because I'd love to welcome you. And as we go through that list, I'll be able to tell what the questions are so that we can answer those questions for you. Whatever platform you may find yourselves on, whether it is LinkedIn or Twitch or Facebook, or of course here on YouTube, and what else are we on? And Instagram. Make sure we are glad that you're here. Just wanted to say hello to you. And as we do, I've got off to my side, I've got my glucose meters that we'll take a look at. Here is my Keto Mojo, and there's my Contour. And then right down below me, you'll see what my blood sugars have been for the last the last 14 days. If I go to the last 90 days and we get that, you'll see what that has been over the last little bit. So we'll take a look at those here in a minute. And I am right now at 21 hours of fasting. 21 hours of fasting. We'll talk about that. Look at my ketones. If you think you know what my ketones are going to be, go ahead and drop those in the comment in the chat as well. I do see some of our community members out there, and we'll do a shout out here in just a minute. Just so you know that we are in the process of improving our metabolism. The metabolism is the thing that causes, or dysregulation, I guess I should say, of the metabolism is the thing that causes much of our current chronic disease and our dysfunction. And so if we can right the metabolism, if we can get it back on track, then we can improve a lot of those illnesses that we talk about. I kind of tell people that when I think about metabolism and all the diseases that we have, I think of kind of like a Christmas tree. You know, a Christmas tree? And so you've got the tree, and then hanging off of the tree are all of the ornaments. And so when we think of metabolism as the tree, then hanging off of the tree are all the metabolic diseases that we talk about. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, pre-diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic dysfunction, fatty liver. All of those are simply now disease states that are hanging off of this metabolic tree. And so if we can improve the tree, if we can get the tree growing, get the tree improving, get the leaves now to be nice and green and not brown as they sometimes get later in the season, then we can affect all of the things that are hanging off of it. And so in this space, that is what we're doing. We are working to improve our metabolism. And one of the most powerful tools that we have that we are using is the tool of fasting. And so you have caught us as we are doing one of those check-ins. On our show, Dwain Woode MD, on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central, we are walking through the path of the limitless living. Right? That's the path that we're on. And all the things that we're learning there are how do we continue to move in the direction that sets us up for the best possibility of success in our health. Ultimately, we're talking about reversing diabetes. So that's what we do on the show. And then the shows that we do, like now, we're doing a check-in. We are talking, we are learning about those things that we need to do, those tools that we have that will help us achieve the goal. And one of the tools is fasting. And so you are here because we are talking about how to fast successfully. We're talking about how to use all of the tools that we've learned in order to be successful in our metabolic space. This past week, we did an amazing show where we talked about and we laid out and introduced the Limitless Living Inventory, which is an inventory that allows you to assess where you are and to prepare yourself for the future. What do I need to change? What do I need to adjust as I am working to improve my metabolism? Make sure you go back and make sure you watch that show. We have the last several shows that we've done. We've laid out metabolism as the goal that we're trying to do. We are trying to right the metabolism. We laid out limitless living as the path, the journey that we're on. And then this past show, we talked about the limitless living inventory, which is the first thing that we want to do. We want to begin assessing where we are and seeing what we need to do as we move into the future. Okay, so make sure you watch that show, and then join us, of course, here as we are doing and we're learning and putting into practice the things that we are learning on the show. Let me go over and let's say hello to some of our community members. I do see some folks out there, so let me back up here. And I see Gian who's out there. Hey, Gian, how are you? Always excited when you are in the space with us. And she says, hi, doctor. Hi, all. Guess what? I ended up binging all holiday. I ate all delicious foods that make me binge. I was happy, though. So Gian is talking about the holiday that they had. And Gian is joining us from Korea. Glad that you were here in this space. And it is a challenge for a lot of us. And I have to admit that as we are moving through this space, as we are improving, the last several weeks, my blood sugars, actually over a month now, my blood sugars have been much higher than they were before. As you know, I was sick several weeks ago. And I have continued having trouble getting those blood sugars back to where I want them. And in the process, there is the frustration, there is the tiredness that comes with it. And so, so we tend to, even though we are doing a good job in the fast, if we're not careful, we can then turn around and undo some of those things. So Gian, thank you for sharing that with us. All right. She said, Doctor, I ruined my fast through holiday. Is it okay? We'll come back. We'll talk about that in a minute. And Gian is giving a guess. She says she thinks about my ketones are going to be 0.4. She said, my tree is a little bit ruined so far. We'll come back. We'll talk about that. I'll grab that. And Steve is saying, hello, Gian. Gian says, hi, Steve. And then Pamela says, hi, Steve and Gian. And hi, Pam. So everyone's just saying hello to each other. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's take a look at blood sugars. And so on the screen, you'll see this is my Libre. And you'll see my Libre earlier in the day, blood sugar started up, looks like right around 170. And then over the course of the day, continued to drop to where it is right now. If I look at my Dexcom Clarity, kind of the same thing. And of course, the Dexcom is a little higher than the Libre. And so that's why you see, even though the Libre says 101, the Dexcom is saying 127. And so they're allowed to be 20% different from each other. We're going to confirm, or we're going to see what we are here in just a minute as I look at my Keto Mojo and my contour meters, which I have off to the side. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let me come back over here. And so here's my Keto Mojo and my contour. Keto Mojo gives me ketones and blood sugar. Contour, of course, gives me blood sugar. And let's go ahead and let's get a strip there. And I see, as I said, Gian is already putting a guess in. What do you think is going to be, the rest of you who are out there? Let's get this strip into the contour. And this brown one is the strip for blood sugar for the Keto Mojo. So we'll get that in. And then here is the ketone strip. So open that and leave it off to the side. And then let's go ahead and grab something out of my handy dandy container here. I think I'm going to go ahead and just grab, I was going to take one of these spring-loaded ones. Right, this is the spring-loaded one. I was going to use that, but I think I don't want to have to poke myself again. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one. And this one, really, you just kind of screw the top off. And you should be able to see there. Let me see, let me put it here. There's a little needle. And I just find a finger. Ow. I didn't mean to poke that one quite yet. And go ahead and get that in. And ow, ow, ow. Hopefully that gives me a good, good flow of blood. And I think I saw Steve put a guess in there as well. So let's go ahead and get those started. Okay. So the contour says 117. Keto Mojo says 118. Right there, you'll see the Libre says 103. So let's go ahead and I'm going to take this out and get started here for my ketone, and just want to make sure I get another drop of blood and get that started. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm not going to show you what that is right now because we'll come back to look at that here in just a minute. But let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion. Before that, though, I do want to go ahead and do our check-in. And I do a check-in whenever I come on, because whenever we're adjusting anything, whenever we are in the process of trying to change anything, we want to make sure that we are checking in with ourselves and we're evaluating the process. Basically, that's what it is. It is an evaluation of where we are, how things are going, so that we can see if we're getting the benefit and if we need to make any changes. Okay? So, with this, I do a check-in, and the check-in I do has 3 components. One, talking about how I'm doing physically, mentally, and how I'm doing emotionally. I am, as I said, fasting. I'm now a little bit over 21 hours of the fast. And as I mentioned, this week, or the last several weeks, we've had some challenges with blood sugar. I had COVID Christmas Day. I was diagnosed with COVID. And since then, my blood sugars have been higher, probably about 30, 40, sometimes 50 points higher. And I'm getting a bigger spike in blood sugar whenever I eat. And so I have been, and I'm talking about this in the physical because it's been frustrating for me as I've watched that. And so I've been trying several things to try to get that down. And some of that may be I'm not getting the rest that I need to get. That was my ultimate point in going through that story. Not getting the rest that I need to get, which also, once again, is contributing probably to higher blood sugars. But physically, I'm not feeling lightheaded. I'm not feeling dizzy. I'm not feeling weak. Not feeling palpitations because even though I'm not getting the rest as I should, I am hydrating. Okay, so I'm doing a good job of hydrating, which is very important as part of the fasting process. But I'm not feeling as though I'm hitting a wall. Okay, let me just say that. So I know that I need to get rest, and I can feel that. Mentally, this one is right now a bit, I don't want to say nebulous, but as you know, our thought process goes along with how we feel. And so a lot of things have been going on the last week or so, preparing for this week and some things that are coming up, and not getting all the rest that I need to get. And so, even though I feel as though I'm being sharp, even though I feel as though my mentation is on point, I could tell, like right now, that I need to get to bed. Okay? And then, of course, that plays into the emotions, because the physical and mental all can show up and can be exacerbated by the things that happen to us emotionally. And in my case, some of the frustration in terms of blood sugar can show up there. So hopefully here in another couple of days, I'm going to have some time to just kind of relax, and some of that should improve. Okay, but that's how I'm feeling physically, mentally, and emotionally. And then we've already looked at what my blood sugars are on the Libre and the Keto Mojo, and then we'll come back and look at what the ketones are. And I did see some folks put some guesses in there. I do want to, and we've not done much of this the last several shows, I do want to take a look at some of the items here on my report. And you'll see there that and let me turn my mouse on so you can actually see when I do that. You'll see there that my average blood sugar is a my glucose management indicator is a 7.0. My average blood sugar is 152, and that's been, like I said, 20 to 30 points higher than it's been in the past. I'm in target 74% of the time, which is a range between 70 and 180, and that's what gives us this estimated glucose management indicator. So remember, the glucose management indicator is a surrogate for the A1C. So we can't call it an A1C, but it's an approximation, so that the sensor, as it's reading all of the data, is extrapolating what it thinks your A1C is going to be. And so it's not a guarantee that that's what it's going to be, but it is an estimate, and it's a pretty good estimate. Usually it's within half a point, maybe 6.6 to half a point, or half a point to 0.6% of that. And so that's where we are. If I take a look at, let's do our daily graph, which is this one. This is over the last 90 days, the last several days. So today, as I mentioned before, we started out here early on in the 200s. Okay, and take a look at that. And so right here was when we started dipping down, and I started my fast. Well, let's see, where are we? I started my fast right about here, actually. Okay. And so coming through, and for the rest or the earlier today, we see that blood sugar continued to drop. And you'll notice one of the points I guess I want to make here is, once I stopped eating, right, the blood sugars came down. That's one of the benefits of fasting. So even if you're doing some of the shorter fasts, and this is let's go back. Let's not go 12. Okay, so right here was about 12 hours. Right, so right here about 12 hours. So even within 12 hours, notice that we get significant decrease in the blood sugar. Right, so even if you're doing some of the shorter fasts, you can still see those benefits. So don't think that if you're not fasting for 24, 48, 72 hours that you're not seeing improvement. Yes, you are, because by virtue of the fact that you're not putting anything in, your blood sugars continue to come down, When the blood sugars come down, insulin goes down. When insulin goes down, we're suppressing the appetite, and we are hitting the third pillar, which is decreasing sugar. Okay, remember, we decrease insulin, we suppress appetite, and we reduce sugar. Those are the three pillars of reversing diabetes. All right, so let's go ahead and let's back up and let's have our conversation. So fasting, okay? We're using fasting as a tool. So whether you're new to fasting or you're refining your approach, what we want to do is to help you push through those early hunger waves and to help you stay on track. Okay, so that's the point of where we are. And this actually was precipitated by a question that came from one of our community members, from one of our online members, and it was it was a comment. It wasn't even a question; it was a comment. And I saw that, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for us to have the discussion. And the comment simply was, the first 24 hours are hard, right? And yeah, it said so first 24 hours are hard is what the comment said. And I thought, why don't we spend some time and really kind of deal with this issue of fasting? How do we set ourselves up for success as we move through fasting? And we do a review of fasting when we do our Friday check-ins, where we talk about fasting, the preparing, the getting through the fast, and the breaking the fast. But I wanted to spend some time now specifically talking about those first 24 hours and being successful in getting through it. Okay? So as we're talking, and if you have questions, by the way, go ahead and drop those in the chat, in the comment, put a Q in front of it, and we'll be sure to get to those as we move through our discussion. So what I want to do is kind of think through, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of walk through the day before a fast. Okay? So the first idea to understand is that there are physical and psychological changes that go on when we start fasting. And a lot of our fasting success comes within those two spaces, the psychological and the physiologic, I guess, let me say it that way. That's the physical, right? So what goes on in the mind and what goes on in the body. Those two things together are what can help us be successful in the fast, and they're actually the things that sometimes will pull us away from the fast. So let's talk about two things first. The first one is that there are changes that are going on in the body that we are not used to. Right? There are certain things that go on in the body, but we actually a lot of times don't feel those things because we don't allow the process to continue. What do I mean by that? So when you stop eating, you eat, and you end eating. During those first several hours, 6 hours probably, right? The body is still burning the stuff that you ate. The body's still processing that. The body's digesting it. It's extracting the energy from it. It is sending some of all along to storage. The insulin and glycogen levels are changing. The glucagon levels are changing in the liver. We're pushing stuff into the liver for storage. We are breaking stuff up and packaging it and sending it through the blood. And in order for it to go through the blood, there are certain chemical reactions that are going on. The body is pumping blood, right? The heart rate is going up to get things away from the stomach, right? We're sending blood to the stomach to do all those processes. So there's a lot that goes on in those first several hours. And if we don't understand that, when we are fasting and we feel those things, then we can think something is wrong. Why would we think something is wrong? Because most of us don't go 6 hours during the day without eating. Think about it. All right, so we eat breakfast, and then 3-4 hours later, we're eating lunch, and 4 hours later, we're eating supper, and many times we'll have snacks in between. And it's not till we actually get into bed and we go to sleep that we stop eating to wake up again in the morning and start eating. And if you're not getting, 8-9 hours of sleep, then you're still within that 6-7 hours where you're eating again. Okay? So many of the things that we feel during fasting are not abnormal in the sense that they should not be happening. They're abnormal because we've not felt that way before. For example, stomach growling simply means that your stomach is empty. Right? But because we're so used to having stuff in the stomach, we're so used to having that stretch, that when we don't feel that stretch, then we think we're hungry and we got to go eat. And so the first thing that we want to be able to do is we want to first begin recognizing in our bodies the things that are going on, the symptoms, I shouldn't say the symptoms, the feelings, the changes that will probably happen. And so as we are trying to fast successfully, it will take time for you to recognize the things that are going on in your body and tell yourself and understand that it is not something that is wrong. There's nothing that's dangerous that's happening. Just because my stomach is growling doesn't mean that something is wrong. Right? So first of all, is the physical. This is where mindfulness comes in. Because mindfulness says I have to be present and I've got to be aware of the things that are going on within me and around me. So that if I'm not eating, that is the goal, right? So we're going to be fasting. So if I'm not eating, then I begin to recognize, hey, when I don't eat, after a couple of hours, I start to get a headache. Or if I don't eat, it feels like I'm getting a little shaky. Or if I don't eat, it feels like I'm a little woozy. Or my stomach starts growling. My stomach becomes upset. It feels like I'm nauseated, right? I become weak. So you are recognizing in your body the things that are happening, and we can now deal with them. We can explain them. We can say, okay, how do I prevent myself from getting a headache when I fast? How do I prevent my blood sugars from, or feeling like I'm shaky? Well, do I need to check my blood sugars? If I'm checking my blood sugars and it looks that when I'm fasting, like you saw on my report, that my blood sugars are dropping and it's dropping too low, do I now need to go back and adjust my medication if I'm on medication? Do I need to drink more water? Okay? So that's the first part of this, understanding what's going on physically. And then hunger may also be psychological. And the reason we don't get through it is because there's stuff going on up here. Yeah, buddy. There is the habit that we're used to. We just talked about the fact that we eat very frequently. So if you normally eat every 4 hours, thereabouts, and all of a sudden it's time, based on your routine, it's time to eat, then guess what? Your brain is going to tell you, hey, let's go eat something. And it's going to be difficult for you. I shouldn't say difficult. It is going to be a little bit of a hump for you to kind of push through that because it's a routine that you've built. Even though your body's not hungry, the routine is there. And so the natural thing is to, okay, I'm going to eat. And if you don't eat during that time, your brain, your body is going to tell you, hey, look, something is wrong. But nothing's wrong. It's just that you've gotten used to the habit, the routine of eating. Does that make sense? Right, so that's the first part. And then understanding that there are not just those physical things that happen, but there are hormonal changes that are going on as well. Because as we go through, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up again this report. And so right here, right, when this part right here, when that part starts happening, draw a big arrow, right? So when that part starts happening, blood sugars are going down. When blood sugars are going down, insulin is going down. Our insulin level is dropping. And when insulin levels are going down, there are other changes that are happening within the body. Our appetite is going to start to go down. Our body is going to start looking after a while for other sources of energy. And that transition will show up as different symptoms for different people. As we're making the transition from burning carbohydrates to burning fat for a lot of people in those first 24 hours, then they may feel hunger pangs because they're so used to the blood sugars being up here. Can you imagine what it's like if you're used to having blood sugars that are 3 and 400s, which are abnormal, by the way, and then all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, but gradually your body now is moving to blood sugars that are in the normal range. So you're used to being 300 and 400s, and now your blood sugars are 150, maybe even 200, and you feel shaky. Not because that is a dangerous level, right? Because 200, in terms of being low, 200 is not low, but because you're so used to being up here that when it comes down, then we begin feeling those, we feel like we're hungry, right? Because the blood sugar is going down. We feel those shifts, right? Because the body's now shifting between sources. Some people may even feel a little sluggish, may have some headaches during this time. This is where, and we'll kind of throw this in again, but this is where hydration and electrolytes become essential. Right? So first, understanding physically what's going on, understanding psychologically what's going on, and then understanding that there are hormonal changes that will happen. Okay? So what do we do before we fast? What do we do before we fast? Let's walk through fasting. Right? So we're going to take the 24 hours leading up to the fast and say, okay, what do we do as we're moving through the fast? So 24 hours before fasting, I recommend that you begin increasing your fluids. And you hear a lot of people talk about how much fluids we should drink, and people will say, oh, drink half your body weight in water. Now, for people who are out there who have medical conditions where your fluids are restricted, that's people who have heart failure, people who are on dialysis, people who may have some edematous, so swelling diseases. So you want to make sure that you are checking with your family physician, checking with your specialist, and say, hey, what do I need to do? I'm trying to increase the amount of water that I'm drinking. Tell me, give me some guidance, okay? But for everyone else, right, the recommendation is really that you to remain hydrated roughly about half your body weight. So if I am, body weight in pounds, by the way. So if I am 200 pounds, then I would drink 100 ounces of water. So 128 ounces is 1 gallon. So that gives you a little bit of perspective, okay? So for most people, half their body weight should work. Right? So 24 hours prior to, and really you should be doing this before that, but at least 24 hours before you're fasting, you want to increase your fluids and you want to begin drinking. About half your body weight, and you're going to continue that throughout the fast. And you may actually need to go up on that during the fast, because when we're coming into the fast, we're drinking the half our body weight, but we're also drinking other stuff. But during the fast, we're not drinking anything, and so we may even need to go up on what we're doing in terms of fluids during the fast itself. So that's 24 hours, right? You want to eat a balanced meal, a nutrient balanced meal with proteins, lean proteins, healthy fats. You want to make sure there's fiber in there, okay? So a meal that would be good if you are not vegetarian, right? We'll come to vegetarian in a minute. So I would say some chicken, maybe fish, if you some lean meat, maybe a steak, healthy fats, avocados, if you like nuts, a salad where you put some olive oil on it, including so we got the meat, right? That's the protein. We've got the salad with the fats on it, the nuts, and now you want to get some fiber, and the salad has fiber and some beans. So that sounds like a good meal to have prior to the fast. If you're vegetarian, the same thing that's there, or if you're vegan, but you can add tempeh, you can add tofu in place of the meat, chicken, or fish. Okay, so we are specifically saying that, okay, this is the meal I'm going to eat as I'm moving into the fast. Now, with that, you may, depending on your current weight, depending on what you've been doing the days before, you may have to have, instead of having one piece of chicken, you may have to have 2 pieces of chicken, right? So you want to make sure that you have enough protein that's in there. And I said the olive oil on the salad, but avocados, right? So make sure that we're having enough healthy fats. And so what we're doing basically is we are putting things in that are going to help us stay satiated, help us stay not feel hungry, not have those hungry pangs come as quickly. Because remember, the foods that I just described will slow the GI tract. They will keep your stomach stretched. They will help you feel fuller longer. Okay, so we've hydrated. We have our meal that we're going to eat. We're preparing that meal. All right, so we're not going to wait until like an hour before we're going to eat to say, oh, now I got to go fix the meal. No, we already know 23 hours before the fast what we're going to eat. And then at 24, 23, 22 hours, we're adding a little bit of electrolytes into our water, right? So maybe a little bit of a pinch of salt. Once again, talk to your family doctor if you have high blood pressure and some of those things to help you understand what you need to do. Right, so we're putting some electrolytes in the water. We are sleeping. So the night before you're fasting, I would say 2 nights before you're fasting, but we're talking about the 24 hours before fasting. You got a good night rest the night before. Okay, so it's not that okay, I'm going to fast starting at 6 a.m. and so I'm going to sleep at midnight the night before. So midnight to 6 a.m. So I got 6 hours of sleep. No. We're talking about the 24 hours prior to that. So if you're fasting, you're starting to fast at 24 hours at 6 a.m., then 6 a.m. the day before, right, you should be waking up after a good night's sleep so that you're coming into that 24 hours, that 24 hours leading up to the fast, you're coming into that 24 hours rested. And then the night before you fast, you're also rested, right? So that basically is a two night sleep pattern that you're doing, because we're making sure that we are well rested during that process. Okay? You have kind of looked at your calendar. You've looked at your schedule. This is the next point. You looked at your calendar. You looked at your schedule. You've talked to your family, your inner circle, and say, hey, I am going to start fasting in 24 hours? Do we have anything that's coming up? And if you do, then don't fast that 24 hours. Because you're automatically setting yourself up for difficulty, right? So get with the family and say, hey, I want to fast. And I need some time when I'm not going to have anything going on, that I'm going to be running no stressful events. We're not building anything. We're not reframing the house. We're not painting the house. You want a period of time which is relatively low key. Now, you can't guarantee that, but as much as possible. And then you've prepared some things that are going to distract you during the fast. I don't recommend fasting when you're at the house, just sitting. If it's a weekend and that's all you're going to be doing at the house, then don't do a fast that day. If you're by yourself and you're stressed and you didn't rest and, right, you don't have anything else to do, that's not the day to start fasting. Okay? So remember, 24 hours before, we are now saying, okay, what do we need to do to be able to fast? So now, we've gone 24 hours, 23 hours, 22 hours. We're going to plan the 12 hours leading up to the fast, that we're going to, if we normally do exercise, we're going to change the exercise that we're doing. If we normally do lifting, we're not going to do that this 12 hours leading up to the fast. We're going to start walking. We're going to do some yoga. We're going to do something that is not high intense during the fast and leading up to the fast. At 24 hours, I am cutting back on my caffeine and my energy drinks. Yeah? Because if we keep drinking those, then when we get into the fast, when you don't drink coffee and you're used to caffeine, right, during the fast, that sets you up for difficulty. Okay? You want to move around. And find some things to do. Hey, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to, start this new hobby. I'm going to hang out with my friends. Whatever it is, I'm going to go see a movie. You want to put things in place. Get those ready. And we're not at the time when we're fasting, but we've already planned this out, what I'm going to do, so that during the fast, I'm setting myself up for the best possibility of success. You're going to identify, now we're still in that 24 hours. We're identifying those things that trigger me. I'm going to identify the habits. And so, you know what? I'm fasting this day. And on this day, at noon, we usually do this. So I've already anticipated that thing is there. And so I'm ready for it. So habits, emotions, right? So this is not, I'm going to go have an argument or having one of those discussions, right? So I have that discussion. I'm going to save that till the day after. Those papers that you've got to sign, that process that you've been working on, I'm going to save that till the day after. Emotions. Access. I'm going to go around 24 hours and I'm cleaning out my environment. I don't want anything here that's going to push my button. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. Taste goes along with the habits, with the availability of things, right? And the emotions. So I'm identifying the things around me that can cause potential issues for me. And then I've written down, so we're coming 12 hours, 10 hours now. I've written down some affirmations on my piece of paper. This is my body, and I am fueling it with the best possible food. This is my body, and this fasting is going to improve my metabolism. This is my body, and I am in charge of what happens to it. This is my body, and I'm not allowing anything to prevent me from doing what I need to do to keep it safe. I am going to get on my elliptical. I'm going to walk. I'm going to row. I'm going to swim during my fast. Right? So we're bringing all of those things to bear. The hardest part of fasting is temporary. I know you're like, no, Dr. Woode, you can say that, but it's not temporary. The hardest part of this fasting is temporary. It is getting through those initial hours, right? And then it's getting through the part of our brain that later on in the fast that tells us, oh, we are missing out on this. Oh, when we finish our fast, we're going to eat this. Oh, wow, we can't wait to get into that. Those thoughts are temporary. But we are not used to facing those and sitting with discomfort. And because we're not used to sitting in discomfort, when they show up, when the thoughts come, we succumb. But if we give ourselves pause, right? Remember the prefrontal cortex. If we allow it to take over and not respond directly to the amygdala, then we will find that it becomes over time. No, let me put that in there. Over time, it becomes easier to do. Does it become totally not an issue? No. I'll raise my hand and tell you that right now. It is an issue. It will be an issue. It continues to be an issue. But it gets easier. And once you have done that, right? You may do it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times before you're able to successfully get through a 24-hour fast. And you may successfully fast for 100 times, but then the 101st time, you have some challenges. We're not talking about perfection. We're talking about progress. So if you say, oh my God, I broke my fast. Oh, I didn't get through the fast right now. My question is, have you done a fast before? And you say, yeah. I said, did you do a fast before that? No, this was my first time. Well, guess what? That's a positive. And then before we get into the fast, so we're talking about this day preparing. Before we get into the fast, I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to write for yourself why you are fasting. I'm fasting because I want to reverse my diabetes. I'm fasting because I want to improve my blood sugar. I'm fasting because my doctor says that I need to do blah, blah, blah. I'm fasting because I want to lose 10 pounds. Write that down. And this is just as we're getting into the fast, so that is the last thing that we're doing, and then we start our fast. So those things that happen to us physically, happens to us mentally, are the big places where we have our challenges. But it can be successful over time. It doesn't happen overnight. It will take you time. And it will take you doing it over and over. It will take you practicing over and over. But it can be done. All right. So drop in the comments. What do you think, as you've been fasting, what do you think are the most challenging parts of fasting for you? What's the most challenging part of fasting for you? Okay, drop that in the comments. All right, so let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members, and then we will take a look at blood sugars. Let's see, Gian, let me see, where are we? So Steve, I think we did see this one. Let's go back up and I'll pull that up. So Steve says he thinks that my ketones are going to be 0.7. Steve said, we have started grounding Monday. We've both slept great the last 2 nights. I'm doing it now. Huh. Okay. All right, Steve. Thank you for sharing that. Jennifer says, howdy. Hi, Jennifer. I'm fasting because I want to control my eating. Yes, that's a good reason for fasting. One of the things, and I think I mentioned this last week sometime, that one of the shows I was going to do, and I changed it, was what are the non-metabolic benefits of fasting, right? So that's a good one. So control, feeling like we have some control. Julian says, I'm fasting. I want to be strong mentally. Okay. My eating habit is most challenging to me. Eating habits, and my eating routine is the most challenging. Yeah. So you've identified actually one of the places where a lot of us have challenges, right? It's the routine that we're in, the routine that sets us up to try to do things kind of automatically. And it's just rote. We sometimes don't even think. We just fall right into it. And so, so very good. Thank you for sharing that with us. All right. So what do you think my ketones are going to be? And I saw some guesses out there. So let me go ahead and let's grab this. Get the contour off the screen. Here is my Keto Mojo. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get that started. And let me do one thing before I do that. I'll go ahead and pull up my Keto Mojo app. Oh, there we are. Okay. So let's go ahead and get this started, and then we'll sync the Keto Mojo. And that's on. So let's go ahead and hit our sync button. And might as well go here. We'll see what that is when it comes up. And so we're ready. So I think we have a 0.4 and a 0.7 are the two guesses that we had. And drum roll, please. All right. And so my blood sugar was 118. And then you see there the Keto Mojo is... Let me do that. So the Keto Mojo says that my ketones are 0.4. And so when we think about ketones that are 0.5 or lower than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis. And then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. Okay. And so right now I am in the normal range. And when we're fasting, we want our ketones, when we're talking about being in ketosis, we're talking about ketones of 0.5 or higher. So we'll see what my ketones are as I continue in my fast for this week. Let's take a look at the graphs. Let's see. Graphs. So I look at my graphs, and you'll see there that the ketones, let's see if I can make sure I'm get there. Okay, here we are. So the ketones are the turquoise line that you see on the screen, and blood sugars are the tan line. So the tan line, when the blood sugars are high, then there's insulin that's there. When insulin is around, ketones can't be around either. So insulin and ketones can't be in the same space. So as my blood sugars have gone down, and you'll see that the turquoise line drops. So it went from, 145 down to 108, went back up to 138, and then down to where we are, 118. And you'll see as the blood sugars have fluctuated, right? So it went down here, and when it went down, ketones started going up. Well, let's do this one. Yeah, when we started going down, ketones started going up. So ketones are rising, and it's at 0.4. But as the blood sugars continue going lower and lower, we'll see that the ketones get higher and higher and higher. Okay, so 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. And when we're talking about being in ketosis, we want 0.5 or higher. 0.5 or higher. Okay. So let's see. Let's go back here and get some comments. So Gion says, my eating routine is the most challenging. We commented about that one. And then Jennifer says, did OMAD all week, so 1 meal a day. I will be fasting next week, but will be eating well at a conference this weekend. Nebraska Sustainable Agricultural Society Annual Conference. All local foods. Whoa. So Jennifer, we need to come out there and hang out with you. Steve says that 3 or 4 hour fighting through the hunger. Yeah, so that can be challenging, right? Those first hours that we're moving through can be difficult, particularly depending on the things that we ate leading up to it, right? Which is why this 24-hour walkthrough is so important, because those things will affect what we look like or what our bodies feel during the time of hunger. And then Pamela says, seeing food is my biggest challenge. Out of sight, out of mind. I love that. Now, I'll tell you guys, I went to the grocery store tonight, and Pamela, I'm right there with you, because I was there and I found myself walking down some aisles that I had no business walking down. Okay, so I get it. Out of sight, out of mind. It can be very challenging. All right. So remember, as we're preparing for the fast, we don't want to start right at the time of the fast. We want to be leading into the day of fasting, preparing, setting ourselves up. And here's the beautiful thing about this, right? I'm going to recommend that you begin journaling. If you're journaling, you will begin identifying things that you can do differently. When you're journaling, you begin to see patterns. You begin to see, oh man, every time this happens, then my fasting doesn't go quite well. Or when I do this, man, I have the greatest time fasting. I'm able to get there. I feel energetic. I'm able to make it through. So journaling is another way of assessing what's going on in our experience, right? One of the reasons we do the check-in at the beginning of the show is so that we can look at ourselves and understand what's happening within our body, so that we can set ourselves up for success. Okay? So you will begin seeing that as you are doing the fasting. And notice I say as you are doing the fasting, because the fasting is not about the race. The fasting is about the progress that we're making. Okay, fasting is about the progress. All right, so as we move through the next couple of weeks. So remember that on Monday we will not have our Dwain Woode MD live. It won't be a live show. It will be recorded. But I want you to come on and be a part of that, and comments and all of that. I will be away, so we won't have our check-ins next week as we normally do. There will be something in the space. We're kind of still working on that. Make sure that you are joining us every morning for our 100-day walk to consistency. Okay, make sure you're coming in and you're doing that. On Saturday, we'll have video from the vault. On Sunday, we'll have this week in review. as we have done, as we continue to do. And so the schedule is going to be a little different the rest of this week and into next week. But we will be back for our Dwain Woode MD Live, and that will be on, let me get my calendar out. So we'll be back on the 17th. Did I do that right? No, not the 17th, sorry. That's several weeks ago. The 10th, right, will be our next Dwain Woode MD Live as we pick up from where we left off. And then our community meetup, for this month will be on Thursday the 27th. Okay, Thursday 27th. And we have that every the fourth Thursday of the month. So make sure that you are there. If you've not already done so, go ahead and get into our community. Our membership is out there as we launched that at the beginning of the year. We want you to be involved with that so that we can all be supporting each other. Remember, you can log in. For those of you who are community members, make sure you log in and get into the community so that we are supporting one another. And then, because we asked for it, we have it on our channel now. You can actually go and you can get some Limitless Living merch. So we've got our mug, we've got our hat, we've got the 91.4%. Make sure you get out there and become a part of that. If you are in membership, then there is a discount that you get, a code that we'll put in for you to be able to get those at a discounted price. I should say discounted price. You get that as part of your membership. There are some benefits that you get, and one of the benefits is to get those at a reduced cost. All right, let's see. What else do we have? Got some more comments. Okay, let's go back over there. So Gian says, thank you for today, doctor. Said, I'm going to miss the live. Jennifer says, me too. Gonna miss the live show. And Gianna said, Jennifer, hello. All right. So let me go ahead and I'm going to drop our link in to the member area. So those of you who are out there, go ahead and join us. So we chatted up a little bit after the show. And then come on back and we will be in the space as we continue our fast for this week, so that we can see what's going on with each of us and begin supporting each other. Remember, I am always excited. I'm always excited when I get to spend some time with you, when I get to be in this space as we are moving into a better metabolic position as we're reversing our diabetes. This is Dr. Dwain Woode, as I always say. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, we are breaking free. We are presenting our best selves. We're presenting our best life, our best health, and our best plans. We're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do to be metabolically healthy and to reverse our diabetes. Thank you for being with me. We'll see you at our next show. Have a great evening.